Welcome to episode 5 of the Northeast Project. My name is Kieran and I'm joined by Ben here today. How you doing, Ben?
Hi everyone, yeah, I'm thoroughly excited to get on with this podcast, episode number 5. Fly through the videos, don't we, Kieran?
Yeah, we've been really enjoying these every week, haven't we?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed them, to be fair. We've covered some interesting topics and today's going to be another interesting one.
Yeah, we've had some interesting guests on, and today is all about a little bit more scientific analysis of the marathon and half marathon, focusing on that. And of course, we'll have a good update of the week as well, and what we've been up to. How's your week been, Ben?
Yeah, it's been better. Better than last
Yeah.
week, but yeah, it's not great, but it's been better than last week. Yeah, I had physio today. Obviously with our new physio sponsorship with Reese, RMNG Clinic in Billingham. So went down there. He spotted my injury within like a couple of minutes, and we worked on it straight away. He gave me a good plan over the next few weeks to sort of take into action. And I feel really good already after loosening it out with Reese. So yeah, I'm really positive. And I think last week I didn't really know where I was heading, but now I've got that mindset and at least I know where I'm heading. So yeah, I'm really happy mentally as well, to be able to get an action plan underway in the next few days and hopefully push on to next week, get no pain. And I've also switched to the biking as well, so I'm not running with people. In the next few weeks, I'm going to bike with people just to take that pressure off my bones and my muscles, to get myself ready for later on in the year, which we'll obviously talk about. But how are you feeling, Kieran? Obviously, you've probably covered quite a lot of miles this week.
Yeah, it's really good though, Ben. You got answers on that. I think that's really positive. Obviously, it's tough with the job that we do, being on our feet all day. We have answers from a, I think it's great. It's great. You're on the right track.
Yeah, exactly. And you could definitely tell he was on about you now. I mean, I'm really excited. Obviously, you are, Kieran, to work with Reece. He's a fantastic individual who's very professional, clearly knows what he's talking about, very knowledgeable, friendly service. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it's great that people in NEP are going to his services because he produces a fantastic product.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been a good week for myself again. So we are recording this on Friday, so I've already covered quite a few miles. Last week was big. Last week was 127 miles. This week sort of heading to 130, 140. And it's not just miles for the sake of it. There's some good quality sessions in there. On Sunday, I came off the back of doing 12 miles at marathon pace. So that's 5:30 pace for me at the moment. My next target is the marathon that we're running, the Project Marathon on the 25th of April this year. Big goal being Manchester Marathon in October. And I think my goals have changed for that marathon recently, looking at previous results and current fitness.
As he says there, smiling and smug.
Enjoying the really focused training. I feel like I'm in the best period of my life, really, in terms of fitness and all the miles and training and stuff got behind us and the support network. The structure of the week. Obviously, my job is to coach people, so I get lots of opportunities to run. But also working in my own time in there, which we've adapted things within the business to get our own time in to focus on our training. I think it's been a really, really positive step in our direction.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously we started, especially with the one-to-ones, where it sort of exploded in August. And I think we did struggle a little bit at the start, didn't we, with all the miles?
Yeah.
Go on.
There was a point in August we had a few sessions, and then on the night we tried to run a tempo and we just couldn't move. I think all that time on your feet takes time to get used to, and it takes maybe a year to get used to. But I think once you do adapt, you've got a newfound strength. And I think, especially when we're training for things like the marathon, and try to run fast over a marathon, you need to be really, really strong. And to bounce off miles every day, back-to-back hard days and things like that, I think it prepares you really well for an event like the marathon. And you can't disrespect the marathon.
No, 100%. And you've got a really good balance with easy miles and hard sessions. See, before last summer you were doing 3 very high volume, high intensity sessions, whereas now you've dropped your intensity. But in terms of your volume, you've massively increased it. But it's all easy miles taken over, and obviously with the marathon, that's going to really help you out. You only need 1 speed session a week and 1 fairly hard endurance session to be able to get you across the line. And obviously, because you're running 130 miles a week, you're really going to benefit from that, as you've seen.
Yeah, obviously, we're going to talk about the science of training for a marathon and a half marathon in this podcast. That's the focus of it. But I think there's things changing in my training. I think you've got to really adapt your training to your own situation. I think that's really important. And for me, the nature of the job and trying to distribute sessions throughout the week, I don't need massive sessions. At the moment, I've sort of got 1 hard session where it's running a marathon pace, and that's really a tough one that needs days of recovery. But the other two sessions I do is speed sessions, but not crazy volume. Like today, for example, I think I only did 10 400s instead of doing 20 400s, but I was not doing past. Yeah, that's all I needed today. Sunday's a big workout, so I need to recover for that. And obviously more miles, so the intensity has to drop. And that's obviously specific for any event you do. If you're doing 5K, you probably need a bit more intensity. And the longer you go, the more volume and the less intensity you need. And the more focus at the given pace of your event.
Exactly. You're being sensible with it, you know. Obviously your easy runs are all, as you say, easy. You know, you're not pushing past zone two. So
Loads of zone two work, yeah. I was never a big believer in like running really slow. So easy pace, if you go by a calculator, like all the scientific calculators for me is like 600 miles. But I'm doing a lot of 8 and 9 minute mile stuff, which is quite interesting. I would never, if I wasn't coaching, I wouldn't actually go out and do that really, probably.
how have you found that transition? Because I know you used to run like 7 minute miles, is that right? But now you've dropped to sort of 8, 9. How would you find that change?
I mean, if we go by heart rate, I'll be running 8 minute miles, and my heart rate's probably higher than what it should be. Yeah, I am constantly fatigued a lot of the time, and you really just need time on your feet. And running easy still train your heart and lungs to develop capillaries, and building the structural foundations. And I think easy miles is easy miles. It doesn't matter what pace you're in. Running too fast is a problem.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, especially if you're trying to recover. But yeah, as you're saying, you're ticking over the fatigue and stuff, and that's probably quite specific to marathon training generally. You know, being able to deplete your energy stores. Yeah, exactly. So, but obviously we'll talk about that.
Yeah, you got to be good at running on tight legs. And of course, this is different depending on your lifestyle, depending on what your target is, what your availability is to train. You know, what works for me does not work for everyone else.
We're not recommending going. Yeah, I was about to say
I'm not preaching that. I'm probably getting slated right now for running anywhere near that. But yeah.
Well, it's working.
Yeah. So we're gonna, before we delve into the science of this podcast, we're just going to talk about sort of the previous week and what's been going on in NEP this week and what we have to look forward to. Some really exciting things. So we're coming off the Dream Team Mile week. Lots of hype, lots of great performances. This week we've almost encouraged us to take a backward step and just have some chilled but focused time on our training and build back up for some new targets. So what type of stuff we've been up to this week, Ben?
Yeah, exactly. We've had a whole mix this week. I think obviously coming off the Dream Team Mile last week, it was so fantastic to see everyone PB. And I mean, probably over 80% of the field PB, which is absolutely fantastic. And it was obviously during the week as well. It wasn't just one day, so everyone was just full packed of adrenaline. But I think, as you said, it's really important to sort of take a step back, you know, recharge, not just physically, but mentally as well, you know, when you've been pushing for so long. Obviously not racing every weekend as well. So yeah, we've had a nice balance this week, haven't we, Kieran? We've took a balance between trails, between parks, between different types of environments, different types of sessions as well. Predominantly lighter efforts and earlier in the week, and then progressing to slightly harder efforts later in the week, but not necessarily massive focus on pacing, hitting targets and stuff. Just generally just enjoying your training. Because especially hitting so hard last week, it's important just to step back, recharge, and then go again. So it's been a really nice week, and the weather's been quite nice as well. I thought it's been quite nice, as long as it's not raining. As long as it's not raining.
Last week.
Yeah, as long as it's not raining, I'm not bothered. But yeah, it's been a really good week, and everyone's been really supportive. You know, everyone's slowly getting back into the recharge, and hitting some races that we've got planned next month.
Yeah, so our next target is the NEP 5 mile handicap on the 20th of March. So I haven't got too long. That's 5 miles, of course. Anyone can win with it being a handicap. It's quite exciting. And the next event is the first physical event that we're going to deliver. That is the Dream Team 10K. The physical one taking place at Teesside Industrial Estate. But you can do it virtually as well. But that's a fantastic target to race in graded groups and to put all this work we're putting in. All the good use, really.
Yeah, exactly. You're completely right there, Kieran. And everyone's been pushing for so many months, and especially when nothing's out there racing wise, you know, it's really hard to keep motivation up. So everyone in NEP deserves that opportunity to race with someone of similar ability, and it's nice that we can get that opportunity next month to race with other people.
Yeah, and we've just had the news that Croft 5K and 10K is going to be on the 21st of April, which is a Wednesday night. Really looking forward to that. That's the first time NEP is going to be racing against other clubs as an official club, and that's incredibly exciting. Of course, I think a lot of people want to enter that, but NEP's been deferred from November. There's a few people missed out, but I think it's going to be a really good opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's our first official race externally as a club and as an affiliated club, which obviously we put a lot of work into over the last 6 months to get that over the line. So I'm really excited for that. There's quite a lot of athletes doing that. And I think the running community are going to get a shock when we come back out. Is that right, Kieran?
Absolutely, and it's only the start. I think being almost let out to the rest of the world to see what we've been up to is quite exciting. I don't think anyone knows the truth unless you're in it. It's going to be a good day. I'm chasing that sub 30 10k. And I'm looking forward to competing against whoever's in that race. I think it's going to be a great night to watch everyone else race. One of the first big events, and there's about 600 people entering. I'm not sure how they're going to work that yet. I think it's all split up into graded races. Incredibly exciting. And yeah, looking forward to getting NEP to compete against others in the community. And I think that's going to be the start of a snowball effect into the summer. I'm incredibly excited with the lockdown easing. One, to get the social element back in the groups, to ease some pressure on us on time wise, but two, to be unleashed on the rest of the world and to really chase some targets.
Yeah, exactly.
Constantly develop again.
Yeah, the kit looks really nice as well. Obviously,
we
developed the kit.
So intimidating. You watch out.
Yeah, so we had at the very start, we had a red with a white stripe at the very bottom as our club vest, and then obviously as an affiliate we had to change, so we then went for the black, didn't we, which looks a lot sharper, which is very nice. So I'm looking forward to seeing people racing in that. But Northeast Project, who are they?
It's a mentality shift almost, isn't it? Like, we train in whatever we train in, you know. We never encourage anyone to train in a black vest, but it's like putting on a lighter pair of shoes on race day. The black vest effect.
Yeah, it's that 5% mentality increase in it, which if it knocks a few seconds off, then that's brilliant.
Talking about black vest, what about the black and gold vest? What's this new one?
Well, I must say, Kieran, I've got 4 more. I've got 4 more from head to toe, unfortunately. Very, very nice design. But yeah, the NEP Marathon Club black and gold vest, which entitles you to the vest if you have run a marathon for NEP. So there's going to be a few individuals racing that distance over the next 2 months, which will entitle them to a black and gold vest, which looks very, very nice. Yeah, I must say myself, yeah.
I'm looking forward to repping that on our first Project Marathon event on the 25th of April. We've got a few people confirmed for that. I'm not going to announce names. You're going to have to keep up on our social media for that one. But
I think we can say the people who have been on social media. There's
also more to be announced that I haven't announced there. But
yeah, it'd be unfair to individually name people. Yeah.
So the whole point of the NEP Marathon Club Project Marathon, we're going to call it Breaking 3, but yeah, there's some other people in breaking all sorts of times, so it's not really got one name. We can leave that for Kipchoge. But yeah, it's going to be sort of a really controlled event with paces, fast, flat, loop course, and paces coming in and out. That's the idea. No laser on the floor because we can't afford that. But we're going to be in our black and gold vests, and we're going to be chasing times. There's going to be great support from the NEP community, I'm sure. And we're going to try and stream it live across our social media and on YouTube, so you can watch at home. That's the idea.
Yeah, exactly. You can be part of it apart from your house, and there's going to be people out supporting as well. I know there's a lot of people who are planning to come down and park to the other side of the road to provide food, water, whatever the people give to those individuals. So yeah, it's going to be a really nice environment. Hopefully the weather's nice. Fingers crossed, and it'll be an absolutely fantastic week.
Can't be too bad that time of year, can it? I think it's going to be really, really inspirational to watch these people putting the heart and soul on the line to run fast marathon. Pressure's all on them really. With it not being a mass participation event, there's a select few athletes. Anyone can do it, of course. It's not ability based. It's anyone who wants to really target the marathon on this day. Most people doing it are laying down a benchmark for the autumn marathons. There's a few people doing some different ones. Liverpool, Manchester, and even virtual London. So people are targeting that stuff, and they want to get a benchmark on a controlled course, just to see where the training's at, how we can adapt things over the summer. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I think it's really important to set a benchmark, especially if you're racing in autumn, which I know the majority of the NEP community are racing, especially 6 months before. It's important to know where you're at, and it's not really a distance that you can perform many times in a year, or to the top of your ability anyway. So being able to do it in an enclosed environment, as you say, with everyone supporting you, will be fantastic, especially in April.
Yeah, it's probably a good time to move on to the second part of the podcast, which is all about just giving our advice on training for the marathon and the half marathon in particular, and our experiences, our knowledge that we've gathered from sort of research and things, and our opinions, of course, as well. Well, mostly opinion based, isn't it? I think it's a good point about not being able to race a marathon all the time. I mean, you probably race a fast marathon maybe 2 or 3 times a year because of the training build up needed. And yeah, any more than that, unless you run it socially, you can't necessarily race it, and it brings an injury risk.
Yeah, 100%. I sort of see it as an analogy of like a acceleration on a car where you're building up like your 180 is your marathon, and you've got to build up slowly and slowly. So you put too many revs on and you brake too fast, but then also you've got to cool down and come back down. As you say, you can only race 2 or 3 high quality marathons a year, unless you're
You
a
drive
madman like you.
sensibly, I don't.
Yeah, you're such an 80 like that. Yeah, I've seen you drive. No, definitely. Yeah, but obviously it's really important to build up so slowly, and especially the last month when you really prepare and you get yourself in the zone. You need to make sure that your mileage is spot on just below marathon pace, very specific to the pace that you want to run at the time.
For these big endurance events, and this goes the same for ultra as well. I mean, we're stopping a marathon, but the same principles almost apply to the ultras. If you're running the Cleveland Way or you're running the Lakeland 50, anything like that, you're putting all your eggs in one basket on one event, and that takes a lot of courage to do that, and it's a really good training preparation to get it right. I think that's what makes it special as well. It can either go all right or it can go all wrong.
Yeah, you're 100% right there, Kieran. I mean, you think about a 5K, you can turn it to a park run, you can absolutely bomb it, but it's all right, you got one next week. Whereas a marathon,
those park runners running 5K every week.
Yeah, whereas a marathon, like you're preparing for months and months and months since you one opportunity, so it's a lot of pressure. But you tick it off right and you get yourself in the right zone, you achieve the time that you want to achieve, and it's one of the best feelings probably in the world. Not that I've had that experience, but I can tell why. I've been a runner for 10 years plus. So I can tell why just with the adrenaline kicking in, and everyone's supporting you. I've seen the environments at like London Marathon, obviously I do Manchester, Kieran. I mean, it's fantastic. So probably one of the most rewarding events ever.
It's really exciting. I think the sort of journey starts from the first idea you have of running a marathon, and it's the whole journey, isn't it? Across maybe half a year, maybe that you have the idea. For Manchester, it was a year idea, so it started in October.
It's that first click of the button on the computer, and as soon as you click that right click and it says submitted, you almost get the jingle straight away, and there you go, boom, there's your training started. So you got to be on it from the start. Yeah, you got to be on it from the start to the finish.
Yeah. So for our listeners, firstly, what would you say the demands of the marathon are and what the half marathon are compared to the average event, the average endurance event, like a 5K, 10K, which you can do maybe week in, week out? What's the different demands?
Yeah, so I think firstly for me is volume. So you've got to have the correct amount of volume, which is different between a 10K half marathon and a marathon. Now it obviously depends on the ability. So I think obviously for me and you, Kieran, as a marathon performance, it's general to be able to run at least 20 to 22 miles a month before your marathon performance. So building up a specific pace that you want to hit. So say for example that pace is 7-minute mile. From the very start, building up your mileage at that specific pace every week, building up. And it's important also to knock down as well to recover. So I know a lot of athletes try to build up on a Sunday run. Sunday runs are very important for athletes, obviously. They're a great way to get miles in. So yeah, building up your mileage, but not necessarily in a linear performance. So not like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's important to also drop back. So 10, 11, 12, 10, 13, 14, 12. So you've always got that drop back. Because if you do tend to push on every week, that's obviously when you can get injured. I'm on about the acceleration of the car. But yeah, you've almost got to take your marathon training as a marathon. A lot of people do try to rush it at the start and they feel quite good. So it's really important that you give yourself that physical rest because it is a lot of miles and it's a lot of stress on the body. So I know a lot of athletes take like 3 week on, 1 week off cycle, which I don't know how you find that, Kieran, at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not very good at taking that 1 week off.
No, I think it's different for you. It depends what athlete you are.
Yes.
If you're running 130 miles a week as you are, you're generally adapted to it. Compared to a different athlete who maybe has an office job 9 to 5 and can't get out much, or someone who's just generally isn't as fit as me and you, Kieran, in different ability. It's all going to different for different people.
Yeah, you've really described the demands quite well. And I think there's so many factors to consider when you're putting a marathon plan together. You've got your lifestyle, you've got
Yeah.
your availability to train, you've got your job. Essentially, how does the job impact what you do? The ability to be able to sleep, your background in running. So, how long have you been running? What does that consist of? Have you built up through different distances? Do you want to race the marathon or do you want to complete the marathon? That's an important point, because that's everything about training, really. If you want to race a marathon, then your training is going to be completely different to if you just want to run a marathon. You've got your age, you've got so many factors into play, and there's no sort of one easy answer. 5 quick tips from runners world. There's nothing like that. There is no quick way to run a good marathon, and I think that's the beauty of it, and you've got to give it the respect it deserves. Like for me, obviously, I've been training for like 12 years, since I was 10, and raced a lot of different distances. Never ran a marathon a few times, but never actually raced a marathon yet. So this is also a new experience for me. Raced a half marathon a few times, raced 10Ks and 5Ks, all of that. But I've been building up over a long period of years, and I haven't had too much time outside the sport, so it's been quite consistent. And that allows me to put in the work I'm putting in now. That's why I wouldn't prescribe this to someone who's only been running 2 years, or has had a massive break and then on a comeback trail or something like that. So that's you got to consider that. You got to consider your background in the sport.
Yeah. 100%. It's like growing a plant, isn't it? With the seed and the I know I love my analogies today. Like a seed that plant, like that's the decision. As soon as you plant that seed, you've got to let it grow. But you've got to be A, sure that you can look after that plant. You've got to look after your marathon training, but B, also make sure, do I want to do it? Are you ready for a marathon? Do you think you can do it? If you've never run a half marathon, if you've never run a 10K, you're not going to be able to run a marathon. So you've got to build up appropriate. And obviously that's the mindset, isn't it? If you can grow your plant, it takes a certain amount of weeks and months to grow it. If you rush it, it'll ruin it, or vice versa. If you take it too slow, you won't get the plant out on time. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing I'd like to mention is that the over sort of importance on the long run. I feel like people make the long run like it's the holy grail of the marathon plan. I think it is, but I think too many people focus too much on the long run and not on the rest of the week, and end up either injured or not able to replicate that long run performance into the marathon because maybe not running on tight legs across the whole week or across the whole training block.
Yeah. So, like, marathon performance is basically the creation of depletion of energy stores in your body. Now, if you're doing that for a seventh of your week, you're not going to be able to deplete your energy stores, especially throughout the week, because you're only doing it every Sunday. Now, we're not saying that obviously Sunday runs are not important. They are very important. But to be able to constantly deplete those energy stores, you've got to be able to replicate that performance throughout the week. Yeah. And again, that's not saying do a Sunday long run every single day, but it's being able to run on different fatigues and different periods of, fatigue during the week.
Yeah. So the sort of factors underpinning a good marathon performance are your basic endurance and your structural foundation. So that comes from your easy miles, drills, your S&C, and long run in itself, just time on feet builds structural foundation. If you want to race it, you need to have a high VO2 max. Okay, so you need to be able to use a lot of oxygen and produce energy. So you need VO2 max work in there. That's intervals, 800 meter, 101k, 1200 reps, all that stuff, 20-30 minutes of volume. The threshold, so marathon pace, it all depends on if you're racing it or not racing it. So if you're racing it, your marathon pace is somewhere around 20 to 50 seconds per mile slower than your threshold, lactate threshold, the pace you can run for 1 hour. So there has to be a lot of work done on threshold. So the lower your threshold is, the point where you start making lots of lactate and waste products that turns your performance in anaerobic. We want to avoid any anaerobic work in a marathon. We want to keep it all aerobic and burning fat, not carbs. So basically, we need to be able to push our threshold down, then push our marathon pace down. So the amount of work done at threshold, the marathon pace is incredibly important. And also training a marathon pace does push threshold down itself as well. And that also improves VO2 max. It's all linked together, of course. And you've also got to have good running economy. So the best way to improve running economy for the marathon is to run a marathon pace. Renato Canova, famous Italian coach, He's coached a lot of like sub 2.5 Kenyans and all of that. He says, what does 2 hour, an easy 2 hours have to do with marathon? And he's right. You've got to be able to train at marathon pace for an extended period of time to run a successful marathon, to be economical at marathon speed. And you've also got to include your fast twitch training in there as well. So your 400 meter reps, your 200 meter reps, not loads of it, but enough to maintain good form throughout your training cycle, and maintain your running economy at faster speeds to make marathon pace feel easier. I think that's like nuts and bolts of what I would say the ingredients are, and what ingredient you put in the most, and depends on you and availability you got to train, and what your end result goal wants to be.
Yeah, you put that really right there, Kieran. Everything sort of intertwines together. It's not just the creation of one specific factor. You know, you've got a predominance of one factor, but everything's ultimately going to link together to be able to produce your marathon. It's just about that as well. I mean, I talk a lot about quite muscle fibers. Obviously, a lot of it's to do with slow twitch muscle fibers, but then again, predominantly you use all three muscle fibers when you're running, no matter how slow or fast. But you've got a predominance of a particular muscle fiber when you're running fast or slow. So if you're doing faster interval efforts, you use your fast fibers. If you're moving in between like 800s, 1500s, use your fast oxidative glycolytic, which is your middle lactic acid threshold. And then you've got like your longer efforts, which is your slow. Now, you obviously use the slow twitch fibers when you're running longer distances, but you still use your other two, you know. So you've got a predominance. You've got to be able to tick over all three, but also you've got a high focus and a high structure on just one of those three muscle fibers at the particular time, while also focusing, say, one effort every 2 weeks on fast oxidative.
Good point about the slow twitch and fast twitch. So for people listening, they might not know what we're talking about here, but our bodies are composed of a spectrum of slow twitch, intermediate, and fast twitch fibers. Intermediate's a bit of the both. It makes a good middle distance runner. But everyone's different. So like I would say I'm a classic slow twitcher. I hate racing anything less than 10k, and I love tempo, all that stuff. That's predominantly slow twitch fiber based. Whereas like a mile, probably you, Ben, you're probably like more of a fast twitcher. So you know, and that depends how you should train for marathon. So if a fast twitcher wants to train for marathon, you have to do something completely different to a slow twitcher.
Yeah, exactly. And you can slightly alter those twitch fibers. You've got a certain percentage in your body which is due to genetics, which is also to genetical factors and training characteristics. And you can slightly alter those percentages between fast twitch and slow twitch, although not massively. You still can. And depending if you're doing slower training and longer miles, which has a slight interrupt to slow twitch, or if you're doing faster, high intensity intervals, you can get a slightly more fit fast twitch fibers in your muscles.
And you have to adapt your training to get the best possible fiber distribution in your body, if you like. So if you just do long and easy, lots of easy stuff, you lose all your fast twitch and your intermediate fibers, and you can't run a marathon as fast. And then if you do all fast stuff and no easy miles, then you lose your slow twitch. So it's a combination of everything that comes together.
Yeah, especially that's why I put, especially in my plans, I try to put a few, strides or hill sprints after easy sessions, just to be able to tick over those fast, especially for those planning for a half marathon and a marathon. I know there's a few athletes that I'm writing plans for that, are targeting those distances in the next 2 or 3 months. And we're predominantly focusing on half marathon specific paces and marathon specific paces for those distances, but you've got to be able to also replicate the fast twitch fiber stuff. So just to be able to do a few hill sprints after an easy run, A, doesn't take it out your legs for the next day's session, but B, also keeps your fast twitch fibers going. It's muscle memory, isn't it? And
I think if you're maybe coming from the beginner end, so the opposite of what we're talking about here, racing, you probably actually don't want to be focusing too much on heavy workouts. Let's say you got 3 days to train. That's hard for a marathon. Probably wouldn't advise running a marathon on, like, if you're just getting into sport. I know a lot of runners do. So for those who are listening and you're maybe signing up for a marathon, you've got 3 or 4 days to train a week. I think you focus. You can't do 2 or 3 hard sessions like we would advise someone who can train 7 days a week. So you're looking at more like one hard day, which, say hard day, that's possibly your marathon specific work, or it's a bigger to max session or it's a threshold session. And then the rest of it doesn't need to be easy. And that's coming up from a different side. I think it really depends on where you are in the sport and ability as well.
Yeah, 100%. As I say, every plank goes differently. You've got to be able to put the right ingredients in every cake's different as well. You've got to put the right ingredients in to be able to make it. And whether that's due to age factor or just you getting into the sport in terms of ability, your slow twitch, fast twitch differences. I mean, I said if me and you, Kieran, had no training whatsoever and both ran a marathon, you probably whip my ass because you're a predominantly slow twitcher. Whereas if it was a mile, I'll probably beat you. So it's completely different.
I also think you're more talented than me. So if I had no training, I think I'd be crap.
Yeah, hopefully I can get into some months of training. I'm sick of being injured. So, but yeah, I mean, in terms of me, I've never had like a solid 6 month year block of training without any injuries. I know you keep saying I'm
That's
talented.
maybe going back to our youth athletics point on last week's podcast.
Yeah, you keep saying I'm talented. I don't have that belief at the moment in terms of myself. And to be honest, that's expected because I haven't run for the last 6 months. But it's nice to know that people do believe, in not both of us. And hopefully, if I get a few months under my belt, I can start to pick my confidence up again and feel like an athlete again, which I've missed for so long.
You'll be back, don't worry. So looking at the marathon and half marathon, maybe something about the half marathon. We've been talking about marathon. The half marathon depends on your ability, but for some people, it's very close to threshold. If anyone did the power hour, they were probably touching on that. They weren't far off it. But for others, it might be more like a 2 hour, maybe 3 hour event. That's quite demanding, quite a long time on your feet. Would you say there's any differences between half marathon training and marathon training?
Again, it depends on your ability. I think if you're a high ability, you can do half marathons if it work at high volume than half marathon. Whereas if you are a beginner, again, it's the same structure of being able to run 10, 11 miles 2 or 3 weeks before your performance.
What do you think of that? Because the main question I seem to be asked when someone, like a few people we've got invented the Great North Run, came to us, they want to know how far do they have to run before they can do it? That seems to be the question I get all the time.
Yeah. So
go for it.
So for me, someone's asking me a question. I've had that question a few times as well. Now, I've never done a half marathon, but upon research, and obviously we both have a university degree, so we've had a wide range of knowledge in terms of nutrition, in terms of half marathon performance. I'd say 11 miles is a good benchmark to be able to run 2 miles less than the distance on the day, especially if it's a big race, if you're doing the Great North Run or if you're doing like a Manchester half marathon, whatever. The adrenaline of the last 2 miles will be able to get you through the line, which as a lot of people say. Marathon performance, people say they hit the wall at like 22, 23. It's a similar sort of structure in a half marathon. If it's your first one or you're building up towards it, you probably hit the wall around 11 or 12. But the adrenaline on the day should be able to get you through the line, especially when you're tapering back. You might have put a consecutive weeks of high mileage in. When you drop back for a taper week and you feel more fresh, you'll be able to get through 13 miles if you got through 11 on a high volume week.
Depends on your aims as well. If you want to race it or complete it, I agree. I think if you want to complete it, you could run 10 miles, 11 miles, and race it will go fine. If you're going to race it, I think you've got to run the distance, but also put in quality work in workouts, covering the distance or actually going over the distance. I would run over 20 miles if I was racing a half. It's a long run sort of guide.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. 100%.
Your training has to sort of be harder than the race itself. If you want to race it, I think if you want to complete it, you don't have to put as much in.
Yeah, if you're a high ability athlete and you've got the focus of high volume and you can be able to sustain, 15, 16, 70 miles, but at half marathon pace, with like a 2-minute recovery as a longer fartlek or a continuous effort with rest in between, you're going to be able to pick the pace up even faster when it comes to your half marathon race on a taper week as well. So obviously it depends on your ability and how if you've run it out.
Yeah, definitely. I'm thinking about some of the workouts I've done as a half marathon runner. And before that,
go on, give us some sellers.
Before that 67-minute half marathon, a lot of it was a lot of miles. Trying to think of any good sessions. I wouldn't say I had any great sessions. It was just average sessions, lots of average sessions. Remember doing. Trying to think. I ran a 10k in 30:59. That was a workout. I did 6 times a mile threshold at 5. I think it was like 4:58 pace with a 60-second jog. So quite a short recovery. I mean, half the distance. I at the half marathon pace is 5:10 minutes, so running 10 seconds per mile faster. My workouts do not suggest that I should run that pace. My workouts have been quite crap.
It's an interesting one, that, and
The week's
especially
been good. The week's
yeah.
the overall week, the overall month is great, but each individual aspect, there's no standout training performances.
I've trained with a lot of athletes who are different. That you've got the athletes who train really well and then become to race and you just have good performances. They never have fantastic performances. They train better than the race, and then you get a mix in between the hybrid, and then you get your other ones who train not so well, but then the races are absolutely I can't even say it. I'm going to say excellent.
I would say training well. Everyone has a different point of training well. Some people want to race a workout so it looks like they're proving they're in a certain amount of fitness.
Yeah.
I think you should never do a workout to prove that you're in a certain amount of fitness.
100%. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, I think, it's again come back to the fact that have I got to run 30 miles to know that I'll be able to run 30 miles? Like, your race should be a better performance than any training you've ever done before. It's about guiding you to that race, and the race is the best training session you ever do.
Yeah, 100%. I guess it depends on your confidence levels, doesn't it?
Having confidence in yourself, yeah. I'm thinking back, and I can't think of a good workout that signifies of that half marathon. I really can't think of it. I think I did 8 times 1K, a 5-minute mile, and then I ran 13. That was great. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's the distribution of the whole week. Yeah, I think that the important lesson is that it's the whole mix of variables, not one session, not great sessions, lots of average sessions.
Yeah. You got to put everything together to be able to run, especially a marathon, which takes so long to prepare
Half
for.
marathon, marathon, yeah. Talking about how can people improve their half marathon and marathon performance through marginal gains. We love the word gains. What I'm saying about this is take away the running aspect in terms of the sessions and all that. There's no like beauty session that's going to get you into performance. What about all the extra stuff around it? So your sleep, your nutrition, your shoes, weight training, S&C drills, technique, all that stuff. Is there anything you would suggest that we really need to be doing as half marathon and marathon runners?
No, you think you just answered it for her right there, really. I think the massive thing is the strength and conditioning, which if you ever do fancy joining the NEP and you join up with us, you will not stop hearing about it. S&C. And that's why so many people in the club do get personal bests and high performances, because of the strength and conditioning work. If you can be able to sustain, high powerful contractions 2 times a week, 3 times a week, and be able to build up your muscle strength, also specific to your event, depending on obviously your volume and intensity. If you can build that S&C program in and make your muscles stronger and more efficient, you're going to run a much faster time. That's science, that's fact. And that's definitely developed over the last 20 years, which we are, as a society, slowly starting to develop to. I don't think everyone still believes in it yet.
What about the dinosaurs?
The dinosaurs, T-Rexes, Stegosauruses. Yeah, not quite yet. But, there's a massive scientific, what's that like, support. This massive science. Yeah, breakthrough, almost. Not
like the shoes.
Well, the shoes is another thing. I'll get on to that later. I'm doing my dissertation on shoes, actually. Which is obviously so important in half marathon and marathon. But yeah, S&C program, especially the last 20 years, it's been scientifically proven to improve performance. And a lot of athletes, especially developing through it now, I do S&C programs. And if you're an athlete at the moment who, you've got a coach and they're telling you not to do S&C, then you should completely ignore them and do strength and conditioning, because it is absolutely fantastic. You've got to do the right S&C with the right technique and the right sets and reps. But if you can sustain that into your performance, whether that is a mile or a marathon, you will see massive improvements.
Yeah, I guess it's about building the foundations of a strong body that, one, can withstand the training, and 2, can perform good, powerful movements on race day, if you like. Because S&C has 2 factors. It reduces injury and it improves your ability to produce force at higher amounts. And that's what essentially it's about. It's training your fast twitch fibers. You don't get trained much. And it's training good movements that improves your running form. Better running form equals better running economy equals faster times with less effort. That's the point of it.
Yeah.
People
Yeah, if you've got a better running core, you're going to utilize your oxygen better, and you're also more efficient for your muscles, so your muscles don't have to use as much oxygen, and it's that same continuous cycle. And a lot of athletes come up to me and say, oh, well, I'm going to be ended up doing something every day, or like I'm going to be knackered every day. Well, not necessarily playing it right. I mean, me and Kieran, what we try to do, we do our hard session at night, and then we'll do strength and conditioning straight after the session, which means that we keep our hard days hard and our easy days easy. To be able to recover, refresh, and get back on the bandwagon 2 days, 3 days afterwards.
I've actually started doing this week, where I did a session. I did a hard session on Tuesday, and then Wednesday morning I did a S&C workout, and then I'll do another one tomorrow morning. I tend to do it in the morning, then lots of easy runs sort of day, because we're getting quite late. But it's about putting it in the right place so that it doesn't hamper your workout, that you want to produce a training effect, and it doesn't make you tired for the rest of the week. It's important.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and obviously it depends again on the job and the lifestyle. Some people don't have time to do it during the day, which obviously we can factor it and fit it around. So obviously it depends on your current structure of training. But if you can, try keep your hard days hard and your easy days easy. Otherwise, if you do find yourself pushing yourself every day, your body can't recover.
Absolutely. What about nutrition?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at you, Kieran, looking at me. I mean, our nutrition isn't exactly the greatest. We've got an extenuating factor in the sense that we're out all day. But yeah, nutrition's massive. And I think also as well, not just the food element, the water element. I mean, you've got to stay hydrated, especially we're heading to summer now. You're going to lose a lot of electrolytes and a lot of body fluid, especially when you're doing high mileage. It's really important that you do hydrate. I don't know about you, Kieran, in terms of your water. I tend to drink quite a lot of water. I don't know about yourself, but then again, it's never really like affected you.
More cappuccinos than water.
What is the crave with runners and hot
Coffee.
drinks?
Because
Just
when
coffee?
you're doing a hard run, you want to reflect and have a hot drink and sit down and relax.
I just don't understand it.
It's a reflective state, isn't it?
I really don't understand it. I want like a glass of milk or like a drink water or a protein shake or a Coke or something.
Yeah, it's not me. And yeah, it's not me. I used to be quite all in on the whole protein shake afterwards. Having things like RG Plus, you might not have heard of that. Having gels for long runs, having just everything you could get that said that was going to make you better. I don't have that anymore, and I'm faster. I don't know. It's not like the ideal situation out there. And we eat. I'll be honest, my diet is absolutely awful throughout the day. The breakfast is good, tea's good, because I'm at home. But like the 12 hours I'm out, it's crap. It's calories, and it goes in, it gets used, and then it's gone.
Don't give any examples, Kieran.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think you got to match your calorie intake with what you burn. I think that's important. And I wouldn't recommend my diet to someone who's running less mileage. If you're running,
I wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
if you're running less, you definitely have to look after your diet more, in terms of not putting on weight, and in terms of getting the right things in for your immune system. So the more you eat in general, the more vitamins and minerals you're going to get in, because the sheer amount of food that you're eating. There's vitamins in everything, right? I know there's not as much vitamins in donut as there is in like an apple. But like if you have 10 donuts, you might get the same thing of an apple. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Moral stories, eat 10 donuts.
So basically, the more you eat, the more you get in. So if you are running crazy miles, you probably will get everything you need just by eating a hell of a lot. You have a balanced diet. The emphasis on balanced diet, right? It's good to have a balanced diet.
Yeah, I just love the fact that I can just see you eating 10 donuts for an apple. No, you're right. Obviously, they are minerals and everything. And, end of the day, you've got to be able to get the calories in. I mean, I dread to know how many calories you're burning through a day, Kieran. I'm probably burning through quite a lot as well. But, you've got to get them in. It's simple science, isn't it? Energy expenditure,
Yeah,
calories consumed.
Energy can't be created or destroyed. It's got to be transferred, right?
Amen. 100% it does. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've read things from like Michael Phelps, who used to train 6 hours a day, and he used to eat 15,000 calories a day to sustain his workload. And it wasn't all good. It was like burgers, pizzas, all that stuff. So I think at one end of the scale. In your marathon training, half marathon training, you're doing more than you've ever done before. You need to consume enough calories to support your training. Because if you get underweight and you're not eating enough, you're not drinking enough, then you're highly at risk of injury, burnout, damage to your immune system isn't great right now with COVID, and overall you're not going to get a good proper training. So yeah, reward yourself after training. You shouldn't be on a diet when you're marathon training, half marathon training, as in a restricted diet.
No, exactly. I think you're right. I think especially when
Don't
you're
run a
putting some.
marathon to lose weight.
Yeah, 100%. If you're putting so many miles in, you've got to reward yourself. I mean, you can't be going around eating salads and stuff. I mean, you've got to be able
you
to.
You can, but you need also calories as well from other things. Like it's good to get all the greens in and all the vitamins.
Sorry, what I mean is like don't eat every day. Not,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like breakfast salad, lunch salad. You know what I mean. But yeah,
That's a good point. What about any other margin gains that our viewers, listeners rather, you might watch it, that could use in their marathon, half marathon training preparation? Anything you think of?
Okay, well, so this one divides a bit of people, and we'll probably have one discussion on this. Now, it's the shoes.
Oh,
The shoes that have been developed in 2016, the Nikes, which have completely broke the running community and have completely separated everyone in two separate factors.
yeah. I've been listening to a lot of this recently, actually. Some
You're not a
people
fan.
I'm not. I pick Adidas because I run faster in Adidas than Nike. And people can choose what they want. I guess what actually fits your foot as well. Like I think the most important thing about a shoe is that it fits your foot. The best thing, and that you don't get injured running in it, and you can run faster in it as fast as you want to run.
Yeah.
I think there's been a few talks that like people have always ran fast. I think there's lots of other advancements in technology and coaching. Coaching's way better than it was 30 years ago, like way better. And nutrition better. Athletes now, there's a thing about being a full-time athlete. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, there wasn't such a thing as a full-time athlete. People had jobs as well, jobs that didn't complement the running. And in terms of time, the overall time's improving. I think it's maybe a result of more money going into sport at the elite end, more athletes having the chance to train all day without a job, and advancements in other things as well. I think the shoes might make the curve seem bigger than what it is. I don't know.
Yeah, you see, especially the top end, the elite end. The percentage of runners running in these super shoes. You've got the Vaporflies, you've got the next percentage, you've got the Alpha Flies. The percentage of marathon runners, especially at the elite game, running in these type of shoes are really, really high. We won't get into the political side of it. It'll be here forever. But these shoes are legal. Especially founders. So, obviously the help. There's been massive scientific procedures with like a 2% increase in performance, 3% increase in performance to do with running economy. That is, and the carbon fiber plate inside. And obviously, if you really want to shave every second off, buying one of those shoes or getting a shoe that's especially right for you will really help you, especially over a longer distance. If you can shave like 0.01 second off every single step that you take, you're going to take off a massive difference over a long period of time.
Well, yeah, if you look at 3% over marathon, what's that, a couple of minutes or something?
Exactly, yeah. So I saw a study a few years ago to do with Nike, and they were saying about the the Vaporfly. Now it's to do with 3%, and on average a 3% increase in running economy. Now, if you're a forefront runner, so you're in the front of your foot, you can see a 2% increase. Whereas if you're heel striker, you see a 4% increase to do with the roll of the carbon fiber and the way it's shaped in the shoe. So obviously, with a 2% increase in running economy every single step, that's going to make you much more efficient. And as you said, it's just a few minutes. I think Kipchoge's time in the Berlin Marathon would have gone down to possibly sub 2, or close to shaving off a few minutes anyway. But he wore the Alpha Flies, didn't he, when he did the Ineos 159 challenge? I know obviously it wasn't an official world record, but he might not have done that without the shoes.
No, definitely. Obviously it's a superhuman performance, and a lot of people tuned in and enjoyed that. And there's a great advancement in marathon running.
Yeah, it's the advancement of the sport, isn't it? And it's not just
the shoe; it's the athlete in the shoe, isn't it? Kipchoge
exactly,
has trained all his life. you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
um,
I'm not even going to Kipchoge, you know, one of the greatest athletes that's ever been born on the earth. You know, I mean, to be able to run a sub 2 hour marathon, I don't care if it's in a pair of bricks flat footed or in alpha flies. You know, running a sub 2 hour marathon is absolutely astonishing. Fair play to him because he put a lot of work and a lot of months into that. But it's, you know, it's the development of every sport. You know, everything is going to be progressing, and what we see the sport from like now into 50 years time, we'll look back and think, oh God, how bad was the sport then? You know, how much have we came through? You know, same as bikes. You know, I mean, the development of bikes in cycling has been a massive performance, and loads of people were talking about that. But you know, it's just general procedure, it's the general development of every sport. You know.
and we still respect the performances 30, 50 years ago just as much. I feel. I mean, doesn't like sort of Emil Zatopek or like, you know, Frank. I'm picking random names out here, but Frank Shorter was a good role model. I think in the '70s for people running a marathon.
Yeah.
Olympic marathon champion. You know, Steve Prefontaine running around the track in 13 minutes. You know, I imagine not great technology back then.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the progression of the cinder tack was like what 1960s and the synthetic tracks. I mean, before then, people were running on grass or roads. I mean, that was a massive technological advancement in the sport.
The roads haven't improved.
Yeah,
Potholes.
just potholes everywhere. Yeah, I mean, that was a massive development in the sport, synthetic tracks. And then you had the spikes development in the early 1900s by John someone.
You've researched this well, haven't you?
Well, it is part of my dissertation, so I'm splashing at knowledge. I like some of mind. I've researched this in the last few weeks. It's quite fresh in my mind. But yeah, I mean, it's development of any sport, isn't it? It's gonna progress, and as we get faster and fitter as a human race, we're ultimately going to get stronger. I mean, Roger Bannister running the mile. How many people can run a mile now in sub 4 minutes?
Lots every year. Yeah.
Lots every year. Whereas, you know, back then he was the first ever person to do it, and everyone thought it was this massive breakthrough in the sport. And now, we back then you wouldn't have even dreamed of running a sub 2 hour marathon. And now you got Kipchoge running the sub 2 hour marathon. I mean, what's next? What's the next target? It's fascinating. Obviously, we're slowly starting to see this plateau because there's only so fast that the human anatomy can run. You know?
I would say for me, and for what we do at NEP, is to get more people closer to those performances. So the majority, we want to get more of the running community faster, enjoying the sport more, to reach their potential as a unit. Not, I guess our focus is on getting people to reach their potential, but more people to reach their potential.
Yeah.
And increasing knowledge out there as well.
Yeah, you're completely right. We always say it's a team of individuals. It's specific training for their personalization of their training, and you know, if they give us our targets, we will get them their targets. You know, working together with other athletes as well to be able to achieve what they want to achieve.
Yeah, we can leave the sub 1:59 attempts at Ineos, and then we'll focus on getting the overall running community faster.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, our ultimate goal is to improve the standard of running quality in the Northeast. You know, so if we can do that amongst every athlete, you know, then we're doing a good job.
We get a real buzz, me and Ben, from seeing all abilities improve, but also seeing the hard work and the sacrifice that goes in, and then getting the rewards, even if it's like being successful in a virtual event, or they might be doing the first 5K or the first race. So I'm so looking forward to the spring onwards when there's loads of opportunities coming along, and I think we're going to make lots of memories. We're looking forward to having a bigger impact across a bigger area for more people, and just progressing the sport. That's what we're about.
I'd like to say as well that people aren't appreciative of their own achievements. No. You know, people. I've seen people, not just NEP, across the whole running community, they put months and months of work in, and they'll get that achievement, and they're almost like hiding it. You know, you should be so proud of the work and the achievement that you put in. I've said it for you people, like, just look at a smile, have a massive smile on your face. You know, you put this so many months of hard work and dedication, and you should be able to share that with the world. You know, a lot of people are very underappreciative of how much work they put in themselves, and people should really be positive and promote their own work as to how much effort they put in.
Yeah, quite true. Really excited to see the sport progress, and hopefully you've got some good tips on some marathon and half marathon tips there, and our own perspective on running those things. I'm incredibly excited for this first NEP Marathon Club event on April the 25th, and there's going to be more hype and more information coming out about this event and we will be releasing more people who are going to have the limelight on them. I bet they can't wait.
Yeah.
A little bit of pressure. And yeah, incredibly excited for our events. We've announced we're doing a 5 mile handicap. We announced we're doing the first physical race on the 3rd of April. And we've got our first workshop back at Brunswick Bay on the 17th and 18th of April. Really looking forward to that. The workshops are fantastic days out, training days away with me and Ben. We're both leading the group of 12. It'll be fantastic on the beach, on the Cleveland Way, going through a range of things. Really quality indoor session in there, a yoga session, an S&C session, and a nice social run as well on the Cleveland Way. It's going to be really, really fun. Hope you
Yeah. The workshops are fantastic. It's a beautiful area, you know. You've got the beaches, you've got the grass and the Cleveland Way around, you know, and then obviously you've got the whole sea view of the fish and chips afterwards for the social. So, you know, if you're a runner who wants to meet other people, wants to see something different, you know, with the workshops that we offer, please do get in touch, guys, and get involved, because it's a brilliant experience for a weekend.
Yeah, and it's also positioned perfectly as a springboard into lots of events this spring, lots of events NEP evented, and I'm sure most of the running community evented. So it's really positioned well for the start, just before the start of all these races that's been released. And it's a good chance maybe to meet us if you haven't met us before. It's open to anyone. It's not just NEP, although a lot of current members will be there. It's a good chance to maybe kickstart that running journey into a higher gear leading into spring.
Yeah, couldn't have put it back here. Couldn't put it back.
Awesome. Thank you for listening to another podcast, everyone, and have a fantastic week.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Thoroughly enjoyed that talking with Kieran. That's episode 5 for everyone. Make sure as well, if you haven't, guys, to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which I'll put a link in the description down below, and also to our Facebook. I've always got to put that in there, Kieran. But
really
yeah,
good at that.
thank you. Take care of yourself, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Leave a like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video. See you later, guys.